In this video, we're going to be looking at the tables within the library solution, as these will form the basis for any apps, cloud flows, or Power BI reports you choose to make with the library solution. We're firstly going to look at the tables and the relationships between those tables. We'll also go on to look at the columns within the tables, the views to present the table columns, and the forms so that we can edit information contained within our tables. At the center of our library solution data model is the loans table. The loans table has a relationship with the contacts table, which contains our students, and it also indicates the book copy that is being loaned out at that time and other details regarding the loan. Each book copy relates to a book, and each book relates to an author. And in this way, one author can have many books associated with them, and one book can have many copies of that book in the library. Finally, many book copies can be taken out as a loan by many students. In this demonstration, we're going to look at the tables within our library solution. I'm in the Dev Environment tab of the Power Up Program Hub. I can select Start Experimenting. I can make sure that I'm in the correct environment, Rory Neary 24. I can then select Solutions, and then select the School Library solution. Going to navigate directly down to the tables, and I'm going to start with the simplest of all of our tables, the author table. If I select on the columns and then filter on PU, I can see there are only a small number of custom columns, and the form that gets used for this within our model-driven app is equally small. Select the drop down, go to Forms, and select the main information form. If we want to see this form in the context of our model-driven app, we would select back, select on the apps, and then select the Loan Manager app and then play. And if I select on the authors table and select new, we can see the form associated with this table. I'm going to move back to my solutions, move down to the tables. Now if I select on author once more, I can review the relationships that this table has with other tables. Select relationships, and we can see that the author table has a one-to-many relationship with books. And that means one author can have many books. Let's now look at the books table. Select books, select the columns, and then filter on PU for Power Up so that we can see all of the custom columns. If I sort on data type, we can see we have a genre, which is a choice column, the book image, which is an image column, and this allows us to hold images in Dataverse. There is a lookup to the author table, a text field with book details, a book name, which will be the name of the book, a reference ID, and this gets used in the web URL column, which allows us to navigate out to an external resource on a dynamic basis. We have a book column, which is our ID field, which will be a GUID, that is to say a 36 character long unique field, and a pages column, which is a number column which indicates the number of pages of that book. If we select on the views, we'll see that we have an active books view as well as a number of other views. In the active books view, we have a series of columns from our table. Select back. I can collapse the books and take a look at the book copies table. The book copies table is a simple table. If I filter on PU to see the custom columns, I can see that as well as having a name field and an ID field, there's also a lookup to the book, as well as a checkout status, which indicates whether or not the book has been checked out or not. I can take a look at the views, select on views. And if I select active book copies, this is the primary view for that table. Select back, select the arrow next to the tables. Now select the contact table. The contact table exists within every Dataverse environment. It has columns that have already been pre-created. And you can choose to use as many of these or as few of these as you wish. Similarly, there are multiple forms for this particular table, and this means that different forms can be used across the same table within your model-driven apps. Finally, we have the loans table. The loans table joins the contacts, our students, to the book copy that they are trying to loan. If we go onto the columns and we filter on to PU, we'll see the custom columns. We can then sort by data type A to Z. We can see there's a range of information available to us, whether or not we're building cloud flows, Canvas Power Apps, or even Power BI reports. And to this end, we know features about when the loan started, when it was due, returned, and even a calculated field to indicate the number of days overdue. We have lookups to both the book copy and to the student. And to simplify our cloud flows, we have a calculated student full name and student email column. Finally, we have a loans ID column. An ID column is consistent across all of our tables, as well as a calculated overdue column. And the is setup field allows us to know whether or not the field was used during the use of the setup app at the start of the process. We can review the simple form that we have for the loans and select the main information form. We can see a series of columns that exist within that table. To look at this form within the model-driven app, I can move to the model-driven app, go on to the loans, and I can select any one of the loans, and it presents the form back to me complete with data. Let's go back to the solutions, and then back. I can select the drop down and select the views for the table, as well as having the loans view, which would show me all of the active loans. I've also got the current loans, that is the loans where they haven't been returned yet, and overdue loans, those loans that have been taken out that have gone past their due date. Let's look at the current loans. We can see the columns here. If I select on Edit Filters, we're indicating that a current loan is a loan where the date returned does not have any data. This is a very simplified way of considering this. Let's take a look at this in the context of the model-driven app. I'm going to select on Loans, select on the Loans table, and this time I can select the drop-down and I can look at the current loans. This indicates there are currently 3 books that are out on loan, and if I select on overdue loans, I can see that one of them is overdue. In this video, we looked at the library solutions tables, the relationships they have between each other, as well as the information that they contain. And now you're in a great position to be able to use other Power Platform products, whether it's a Power BI report to visualize the data, a Power Automate Cloud Flow triggered when the loan is created, or a Canvas app for use by one of the library assistants. I'll see you in the next lesson.